On September 22nd, a serious bomb hoax took place in Sabah, Malaysia. A Chinese couple faked a bomb threat to cancel their flight, hoping to change their seats. They sent an email falsely claiming there was a bomb on board, causing widespread panic. Police confirmed that the suspects were a 29-year-old man and his 28-year-old wife. They were arrested that evening at a hotel in Semporna, where officers also found a Vivo X200 Pro mini phone suspected to have been used to send the threat. Investigators said the email came from the wife requesting the cancellation of the September 23rd flight from Tawau to Kuala Lumpur. The airline alerted authorities and the case was taken over by Tawau police. The couple admitted they were inspired by an online article suggesting that sending a bomb threat would cancel the flight, giving them the chance to pick better seats. Both suspects are now in court. Police have requested a 4-day remand to gather more statements and trace the email's source. They will be investigated under the Penal Code and the Communications and Multimedia Act. This selfish and unusual attempt to cancel a flight just to change seats isn't an isolated case. Back when the 2025 Lunar New Year holiday came to a close, flights saw a major surge in passenger returning home. One incident involving a Chinese passenger on Singapore Airline flight SQ826 made headlines after the woman caused a scene during the flight. Video footage taken by passengers show the woman repeatedly demanding to use the restroom while the plane was taxiing, banging on the lavatory door, insulting crew members, and even allegedly elbowing a flight attendant. She shouted, "If you dare, stop speaking to me in both Chinese and English." Despite the crew's attempts to calm her down, the captain decided to return to the gate to remove her and her companion for the safety of all passengers. According to FlightAware, SQ826 was scheduled to depart Singapore's Changi Airport at 1:15 a.m. on February 6 and land in Shanghai at 6:02 a.m. The flight was delayed until 3:01 a.m. due to the incident arriving about 1 hour and 26 minutes later than planned. Confrontations like this are not rare on flights with Chinese passengers. On February 1st, another dispute took place on a Cathay Pacific flight from Singapore to Hong Kong. A man became enraged after a female passenger asked him to keep his seat upright, shouting at her and drawing the attention of other passengers. The man yelled, "Can I adjust my seat or not? Is it a rule? Shut your mouth." The woman responded, "When you yelled at my child, I stayed quiet. But if you say you can't adjust your seat, that's your problem." So why do some Chinese passengers act out over small issues or resort to deception for minor benefits? Analysts argue that the influence of Communist Party propaganda, which diverges from traditional Chinese culture, has promoted materialism and self-interest, with peoples increasingly focused on money. When the economy was growing, these impulses were less visible, but under economic strain, selfishness becomes more apparent. Recently, at the Shanghai Master Tennis Tournament, a female spectator caused a stir. Initially, she danced and waved in the stand, drawing the attention of other spectators. When she began loudly cheering for a player, her behavior clashed with the quiet atmosphere of the event. Staff approached to ask her to settle down, but she ignored them and continued her disruptive actions. Shortly after, several security guards arrived to escort her out. She resisted fiercely, screaming and refusing to cooperate. The situation became even more intense when a young, mixed-race boy, seemingly her son, clung to her in fear as she was pulled away. The scene became awkward, and nearby spectators began commenting, with one video captioned, "Only mainland China would produce such bizarre behavior." Since the COVID-19 pandemic, China's economy has faced significant challenges. With government lockdowns and ongoing economic decline, many Chinese people are increasingly anxious and prone to extreme behavior. During the National Day holiday, subway stations were packed with people. Adults argued, children cried, and when doors opened, passengers risked being pushed off the tracks by the crowded mass. All white people on the platform tried to squeeze in. Some online users debated whether to lend a hand to those being pushed. One said, "If you're near the door, just move over. If you're farther away, don't get involved." Others warned, "Don't pull or push. If someone falls, you'll get blamed." Another pointed out, "If you pull someone up and their belongings fall, you could be held responsible." At times like these, wealthier people would avoid the crowds. Those stuck in the subway cars are ordinary people trying to enjoy the holiday while carefully managing their money. Their so-called holiday joy is really just a cheap consolation. As Yu Hua once wrote, people rush about anxiously, all for just a few pieces of silver. That meager income has bent the backs of generations. More than 40 years after China's reform and opening up, true prosperity remains with the elite. The image still shows 3 generations of families struggling to make ends meet. Asking these people to focus on morality or order is almost a luxury. Under the weight of survival, even a moment of peace becomes a distant hope. On October 2nd, a video sparked widespread discussion on X. It showed a heated confrontation between 2 groups of Chinese women by the Rhodes River in Sydney. The conflict started over a game of square dancing. One group, holding wooden oil umbrellas, danced gracefully to traditional Chinese music, while the other set up a white suitcase, blasting energetic music and chanting slogans, seemingly ready to compete with the umbrella dance group. Square dancing, which began in Chinese community squares, has spread to global landmarks such as Red Square and Sydney. Wherever these women go, their presence is always noticeable. In Sydney, the dancing craze continues under the night sky. Any available space becomes a potential dance stage. But behind the lively atmosphere, tensions inevitably arise. In the video, dozens of dancers face off, their loudspeakers blaring music as they fight for space and position, resembling, as many commenters said, a warlord battle. In China, these women are often accused of disturbing the peace, yet they continue to enjoy themselves. Most of them are over 50, retired, and no longer content with sitting on the couch or playing mahjong. They feel lonely and seek companionship. With children living far away and husbands busy, they've become typical empty nesters. Square dancing offers them a solution. It's a way to strengthen their muscles, meet new friends, and feel a sense of belonging, more so than running alone or staying home. But this popularity comes with its own set of challenges. The square is a public space and local authorities have limited options. We can't just draw a line or stop them from dancing. All we can do is try to persuade them. If things escalate, we call the police. The dance-off by the Sydney riverbank is just a global manifestation of this phenomenon. Some online users have summarized the square dancing women with 4 key criticisms. They're overly thrifty, quick to argue, love stirring up trouble, and have strong personalities never backing down. Looking at their historical backgrounds, most were born between 1949 and 1978, during the period before China's economic reforms. Back then, China was economically backward, and cultural education was neglected. During the Cultural Revolution, between 1967 and 1978, an entire generation's educational golden years were wasted. The lack of education made many people more impatient and less tolerant. Over time, the pursuit of material gain overtook the desire for rational thinking and public norms. This explains why we see frequent square dancing conflicts today. These aren't behavior rooted in traditional Chinese culture. Their behavior is shaped by the influence of communist ideology. Of course, many of those influenced by communist ideals aren't just fighting over dance floors, they're also fighting for seats on trains. On the morning of August 21st, 2018, a post on social media highlighted a conflict on G334 train from Jing'an to Beijing. A male passenger refused to return to his own seat, occupying a window seat that belonged to another passenger. When the female passenger called for the train conductor, the man claimed, "I can't stand up." The conductor asked if he was sick or drunk, and he replied, "I'm not drunk." When asked why he couldn't stand, he said, "I don't know," and requested a wheelchair when they arrived. He refused to move to his seat, telling the female passenger to either stand, sit in his seat, or go to the dining car. The female passenger, a recent graduate, had boarded the train at Jing'an West Station. The man's original seat was only a few rows away. After several unsuccessful attempts by the conductor and police to resolve the issue, the female passenger was moved to a business class seat. That same day, soon, the man involved posted on WeChat saying, "I made a fool of everyone on the carriage, including the conductor, the police, and the other passengers. I really showed that little girl what's what." On August 24th, the China Railway Jing'an Bureau Group Company fined Sun 200 yuan and imposed restrictions on his train ticket purchases for a period. Regarding the man's seat-hogging behavior, Chen Yanyan, vice dean of the Urban Transportation College at Beijing University of Technology, said every passenger who buys a ticket has legal rights, and that man's actions violated the rights of others. If persuasion fails, authorities should take stronger measures, including blacklisting him from the future train travels, similar to how deadbeat debtors are handled. The Legal Daily pointed out that while some might consider seat hogging trivial, it's actually about resisting uncivilized behavior. The female passenger wasn't just fighting for her seat, she was defending the travel rules. As China's high-speed rail system continues to grow, public awareness of rules must evolve as well. Protecting public transportation rules can't be left to individual passengers alone. In the age of real name ticketing and reserved seating on high-speed trains, challenges to these rules are common, and violations outside the public eye are even more frequent. In 2022, the Xinjiang-Duku Highway turns into a garbage highway, becomes a trending topic on social media. Many users reported seeing trash scattered along the Duku Highway, especially at parking areas and rest stops, with food bags and plastic bottles everywhere. In response, the Xinjiang Department of Culture and Tourism urged people not to turn the Duku Highway into a landfill, pointing out that the mountains of garbage were ruining the scenic beauty. Trash on the Duku Highway caused serious environmental damage, but it's not just an issue in Xinjiang. If you search for similar reports, you'll find this problem in many popular tourist spots across China. The Duku Highway, located in a remote area, has limited ability to self-clean, and cleaning costs are high. Therefore, the damage caused by littering is much worse than in more developed tourist areas. Recently, a similar uncivilized incident took place on a domestic flight when a passenger allowed their child to defecate in the aisle. The flight attendants, overwhelmed, wrote, "It's not unusual to see this anymore. Why do such incidents occur frequently in China, yet seemed difficult to address?" Not only do some people violate personal space in public, but when they have a disagreement with strangers, their response can often be extremely offensive. A recent video that circulated on X shows a middle-aged man spraying a fire extinguisher at three women during an argument. One of the women collapsed from the effects, while another attempted to fight back with a plastic stool, but was sprayed in the face and forced to retreat. Onlookers shouted angrily, "You must call the police." Experts say that spraying dry powder from a fire extinguisher directly at someone is extremely dangerous. The powder can spread uncontrollably in the air, and the victim's quickened breathing can lead to them to inhale the fine particles, potentially causing severe damage to the respiratory system. In the worst case, it could lead to suffocation. Long-term exposure to the powder could even cause chronic lung conditions such as pneumoconiosis, leaving the victim with lasting health problems. Chinese children, unlike their Western counterparts, didn't receive strict training in self-control. The tradition of wearing open crotch pants and adults pushing children to relieve themselves fostered a mindset where the boundaries between public and private spaces were unclear, leading to a lack of self-discipline. This mindset has far-reaching consequences. On one hand, individuals lack a clear understanding of personal boundaries, which makes it easy for them to offload their private behaviors or emotions in public spaces, leaving others to bear the burden. On the other hand, they are conditioned to be controlled by external forces, creating a heteronomous personality. In the presence of authority, they tend to comply and even go out of their way to please. However, when faced with strangers or public spaces, they often ignore order and etiquette. This contradiction leads to two conflicting tendencies: a caring and collectivist attitude towards those they know, and a disregard for public spaces and a rough, inconsiderate attitude towards strangers. The lingering influence of early childhood development stages creates a blend of obedience to authority alongside a selfish and disruptive nature in public settings. More importantly, these uncivilized habits cannot be fully addressed by government civility campaigns, whether it was Chiang Kai-shek's New Life movement or the Chinese Communist Party's spiritual civilization construction. Both tried to use grand political slogans to mask their real issue: the absence of individual character. Without a development sense of self, true self-discipline remains impossible. In other words, China's long-standing cultural and educational system never allowed for the full development of the individual. Public urination isn't simply a bad habit. It's not just a feudal leftover or a capitalist bad habit. It's the product of a cultural distortion caused by communist education. Historically, China has been revered as a land of civilization and proper etiquette. The core values of hard work, kindness, humility, and respect have been deeply embedded in Chinese culture and passed down through generations. For example, at just 4 years old, Confucius understood the value of humility when he gave the largest pear to his older brother. Similarly, during the Qing dynasty, Zhang Yi from Tongchen, where his neighbors fought over land, wrote a letter advising his family what's the harm in giving up 3 feet. This led to the famous 6 foot alley story, symbolizing harmony and courtesy. These stories not only reflect virtues like family unity and neighborly harmony, but also embody the Chinese tradition of resolving disputes through humility and etiquette. However, since the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideology began to erode traditional values, the character of the Chinese people has gradually shifted from kindness and humility to aggression, restlessness, selfishness, and a drive for profit and fame. Many recent incidents on the international stage reflects this distorted mentality and behavior.